We have got the statistics that we have been waiting for the best part of 2 weeks. And I'm going to tell you something quite shocking. We have now got more people living in this country than we have ever had in the history of Great Britain, OK? At no time have we had more people living in this country than we have now. The net migration figure has come out this morning, just about half an hour ago. 606,000 is what it is to December 2022. The problem is, of course, that only tells half the story, because the real story is how many people have actually come here, not how many people have come here minus the number of people who have left. We'd like to ask the Prime Minister about it, of course, but he's decided he's going to give an interview to somebody else. And do you know who he's going to give an interview to? Is he going to give it to the BBC? No. Is he going to give it to Sky? No. Is he going to give it to Bloomberg? No. Is he going to give it to CNBC? No. Is he going to give it to the Daily Mail or the Sun or the Times? No. He's going to give it to ITV's This Morning, the most toxic show in the history of television. I mean, if Rishi Sunak doesn't have enough problems, he's sitting on the sofa just as we speak, talking to the replacement of Holly and Phil. I mean, does he got no moral compass whatsoever? Does he not know that that's a show which has not only lost about 200,000 to 300,000 listeners over the course of the last week because of all the shenanigans that have been going on? He's sitting there trying to justify how it is possible for a place like Britain to involve themselves in importing more people than have ever lived here. This is a place where we have supposedly got tough on immigration. This particular government is supposed to be a Tory government. It's supposed to have taken back control of our borders. Well, let me tell you, you might as well not have any bleeding borders, because anybody can walk in here. And if you can't get here legally, don't worry, you just jump on a boat over in Normandy and come over on a dinghy. That's fine, not a problem at all. Talk about an absolute and utter shambles. What is going on? Here's the real story, OK? 925,000 people have come here from non-EU countries in 1 year alone to the end of 2022. 235,000 of them came to work, apparently. 361,000 of them came to study. 51,000 of them came to join families. 172,000 came through humanitarian routes. 76,000 came seeking asylum. 29,000 we are told came for other reasons. Of those people who arrived on study-related visas, something like 41,000 extra were dependents. So we've effectively got about 100,000 people coming here to join their families who are already here studying. Brilliant, marvellous, fantastic. No wonder you can't get a bleeding doctor, no wonder you can't get a bloody dentist, and no wonder you can't go anywhere without waiting in a queue for about 4 hours. Migration nation indeed. We're all over this today. We will be bringing you an incredible array of guests. We've got Rod Little, we've got Isabel Oakeshott, we've got Matt Goodwin, we've got Peter Cardwell, we've got Rupert Lowe. It's all going on. This is the Independent Republican Mike Graham, and we're hopping mad. Good morning and welcome to Broken Britain, the place where too many people exist in not enough houses, without any space on the roads, and with no trains that run on time. Brilliant. It's all going so well. And Rishi Sunak is on the sofa with This Morning. Shame he missed Phil Schofield. He could have gone on last week. He's not there anymore. I wonder if he's going to leave the country. That's another story. Let's talk to Peter Cardwell. He's Talk Radio's political editor. He's live with us right now outside the Home Office. Peter, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. There's some very interesting breakdowns now of these figures which we've got. The big number for me is the 925,000 who came here. What do we know about the people who have actually left? Because we're told the net number is 606,000, so I'm assuming that was something of the order of like 400,000 to 500,000 people have gone out of the country. Do we know anything about who they are?
Yes, we do. I mean, a lot of them will have been foreign students who will have left. There will be people who've moved abroad for other reasons. They've gone back to the countries that they've gone to already, or they're British people who've decided to emigrate. And that's one of the problems in terms of things like GPs, for example, who are looking at perhaps a better life, better conditions, more money in places like Australia and New Zealand. People deciding to move with their families, and then the people perhaps coming into this country maybe don't have the same skills. So we do have 1.1 million job vacancies in this country. We've more people than ever. we've 1.3 million people who are able to work but don't, as well as these huge immigration statistics. And what's interesting, as well as the fact that there are record statistics, is what the government is saying it will do. Boris Johnson said he wanted to get to below 250,000. David Cameron previously talked about the tens of thousands, so under 100,000. All Rishi Sunak will say is that he wants it to be under what he inherited, which was 500,000. That's still a lot of people, extra people, every single year. And actually, in just a few minutes, we're going to see in the House of Commons that there will be an urgent question from the Shadow Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper. I've been asking the Home Office whether it's going to be the Immigration Minister, Robert Jenrick, or the Home Secretary herself, Suella Braverman, who's not doing any interviews today at all. You would think that she probably would, but she hasn't, or she isn't going to anyway, to answer the question of these statistics, to say, 606,000 more people in the country. That's a lot of pressure on public services, that's a lot of pressure on GPs, on schools, on hospitals, and all the rest of it, to say nothing of housing, which is one of the biggest problems this country has.
And as far as Rishi Sunak, he suddenly decided he wants to go onto the world's most toxic television sofa at this morning's show to talk about immigration figures with the people on there. Not quite sure why he would make that decision, are you?
It's a bizarre decision in terms of what to do. I mean, what often happens in these situations is that as you know, Mike, political leaders sometimes give what's called a pool clip. So they talk to one broadcaster and then all broadcasters get that clip in terms of his reaction. But in terms of a nice cosy chat on the sofa with Dermot and Alison, or I think it's Craig Doyle and Alison Hammond, actually, I'm not sure. I'm sure they're very good interviewers and professionals and all the rest of it, but I don't think even they would argue that the toughest interviewers in Britain. And I think that a lot of people will say the Prime Minister, the Home Secretary, the Immigration Minister should probably be giving an interview to hard-hitting journalists who are going to ask really tough questions.
He should be giving an interview to some proper news organisations, not to, this morning, the Soft Shoe Shuffle Brigade, who've probably got, researchers currently trying to find somebody who might have known Tina Turner. I find it very, very odd behaviour. And as we've also asked Robert Jenrick to come on, and we haven't heard back from his office, never mind getting the courtesy of a reply. I find it extraordinary that this is a massive day for the government, a massive day for this country. As I said at the start of this show, we have never had more people living in this country, and yet the government seems to think that they're in charge of the immigration department.
I don't think they are, and I think that a lot of this shows as well. We were told with Brexit we would take back control of our borders, and actually, interestingly, if you look at the breakdown of the statistics, there are something like 180,000 people from Ukraine who have come to the country in the last year. There are 52,000 people who've come from Hong Kong, and I don't think too many people would argue too much with that in terms of those the political strife in those countries. There will be concerns about the numbers, of course, but the fact that we are a welcoming nation. But when it goes up to 606,000 people from right around the world, when we're meant to have control of our borders, we're meant to have control of our borders from the EU, where the number of EU migrants is falling, for example, but from the rest of the world, it's just going up. Yeah. It's going up to the highest level ever, a record level, and that's something a lot of people will be justifiably very concerned about this morning. And
according to the breakdown that I've got in front of me here, we've got something like 925,000 coming in from outside, of course. It says 76,000 came seeking asylum. And we're continually told by the lefty lawyers and the kind of, open borders brigade that there are no safe routes for asylum seekers, but clearly there are.
Well, there are 9 safe routes, actually, from Hong Kong, for example, from Ukraine. There are safe routes to this country. To say there are no safe routes is just false. Yeah. In terms of asylum seekers, we've got some information on that as well this morning. 172,000 asylum seekers in this country awaiting decisions. They're caught on the Home Office backlog, and yet more problems there. Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman saying they're putting more civil servants into that, making decisions more quickly to see whether people have a genuine asylum claim or whether they should be sent back. The Rwanda policy still not up and running. The Borders Bill still going through Parliament. So the government is, I suppose, trying to take some action on this, but getting it down to as low a level as David Cameron was talking about 10 years ago, that just seems a distant dream, really. I mean, Suella Braverman talks about her dream of sending people to Rwanda and getting immigration levels down to a manageable level. Well, that seems very, very far off and just a dream, really, at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely right. Peter, thanks very much indeed. We'll be coming back to you again very shortly. Peter Cardwell, Talk Radio's political editor there, breaking down the figures for us, telling us precisely what is going on down from the Home Office there. But extraordinary that the government doesn't see fit to do anything other than put the Prime Minister up on the This Morning couch. sofa, whatever you want to call it. You know, just a bizarre decision and a very, very odd one, it seems to me.